I'd like you to take a look at the experiences that I have listed on this slide. And as you read through this list of experiences, I would like you to raise your hand if at least one of these experiences has been pervasive in your life at some point in time over the last 18 to 24 months. Raise your hand. So most of you. Psychology Today lists these experiences as symptoms of a life that is void of purpose. Let's take a look at the next slide and a quote from the great philosopher of the late 19th century, Emerson. Emerson said, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate." The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that we have lived and that we have lived well. Raise your hand if you have ever read The Emperor's Handbook, The Diaries of Marcus Aurelius. Anyone? A few of you. I've read this book several times. It continues to astonish me as to how a man more than 2,000 years ago could have written about things that are so applicable to this day. I highly recommend that you read this book. Marcus Aurelius was not only a great Roman emperor from before the time of Christ, he was also a Roman Stoic. And his diaries and philosophies on life are very relevant to this time. Now, Marcus Aurelius said, the purpose of life is to make the most of the present, because the future is never guaranteed. He added, the purpose of life is to be helpful to others. Marcus Aurelius went on to say, and I'd like you to write this down, and I'll repeat it twice. We only get what we want when we help others get what they want. We only get what we want when we help others get what they want. Remember, I am building a model of understanding here, and this will all make sense. So the next question that I have for you is this. Over the course of the last 18 to 24 months, when you were experiencing those symptoms that were on that first slide, those symptoms that equate to your life having a lack of purpose, the question is, was your focus on you, or was your focus on others? Was your focus on your pre-approved borrowers, who right now are more frustrated than even you that they've not been able to find a home due to a lack of inventory or a lack of affordability? Was your focus on your past client database and the fact that so many of them have exhaustive consumer credit card debt at extremely high interest rates? Was your focus on your realtor partners who have seen a downturn in their business and are now frightened over the NAR ruling? Or was your focus on you and your pipeline and trying to return it to the levels that it once was at? Now, it would make sense to me if the answer to this question was that your focus was on you. The reason that I say that is quite simple. I've done a lot of studying on the subject matter of the brain. Neural pathways in the brain, our repetitive thought patterns, neuroplasticity, the reason that we remember things, neurolinguistic programming, the words that come out of our mouth and how they influence our behaviors. And these studies have led me to one place that's very important. And I want you to understand this because it applies to everyone in this room. Down through the center, through the top of your head and right in the center of your brain, each and every one of us has the master gland of the body. It's called the pituitary gland. Now, why is this important? The pituitary gland is referred to as the master gland of the body because it is quite literally the pharmacy that exists inside of each of us. All day long, we go through our day and we experience thoughts and emotions. And those thoughts and emotions literally kick off a cascade of chemicals into our body, and we are operating quite literally under the influence of drugs. So, let me give you an example of how this works. If I come running at you right now with a knife in my hand, straight at you, the thought that's going to go through your head is, I'm in danger. And the emotion that you're then going to experience is fear. And your pituitary gland will immediately kick off a cascade of chemicals into your body, the fight or flight drugs, adrenaline, so you can run faster or fight stronger. Serotonin, your focus will be very tunneled. You will block out everything else that's going on in this room, and you will get locked in on one thing, the survival of self. Endopinephrine, norepinephrine, to name many others. Now, why is this important? Because fear is fear. Stress is stress. Worry is worry. It doesn't matter if I'm coming after you with a knife or if your loan pipeline has shrunk or if you've seen a decline in your investment portfolio and you've unfortunately had to start living off of your savings account, which many of you have unfortunately had to do over the last 18 to 24 months when you were experiencing those symptoms, or if you've been faced with maybe the greatest fear of them all, having to say goodbye to somebody that had gone to battle with you in 2020 and 2021 and helped you make a lot of money. A teammate that you never thought you'd have to say goodbye to. You have quite literally been on this very terrifying journey over the last 18 to 24 months, and your focus has become very narrowed and on one thing, the survival of you. But isn't it interesting that these great philosophers that we've just taken a look at have said that the purpose of life is not to have our focus on us, it is to have our focus on other people.